People are our most important resource. I mean, think about that. People are our most important resource. And that's true today, just like it was yesterday, even with the advent of automation and artificial intelligence. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, seriously, is that it? You're HR people. You know what this is, right? You know that people are the most important part of a business. Even with all that automation, people need to run things. They need to develop the plans. They need to execute on those plans. But what's really interesting about this quote, does anybody know who said this? Anybody know? I will tell you. Pretty much every leader ever. Is there anything in your job that you just hate to do? That you'll put it off for as long as you could put it off. You'll do anything but that job, right? Let me take out the garbage, right? Let me go buy lunch for the staff, anything. You know, for me, it was weekly activity reports. Oh, I hated doing those. And when I finally would get around to do them, I typically had like 6 weekly activity reports to do. So I would do anything, like I said. And then it would come to a point I had to do it. And typically it would take me maybe 2 hours to do it. So I'd sit down and I'd get it done when my boss finally was on me and said, Ken, if you don't get it done, we got problems. So it'd be 2 hours. But let me ask you about that priority. If somebody came to me and said, Ken, I want you to take these next 2 hours and just bang out those weekly activity reports, get them done in the next 2 hours, and I'm going to hand you a check for $10,000. Where do you think that would move on my priority list? Right? It would move pretty much to the top. Forget everything else, right? So my challenge to you is to really first ask the first question is leadership, if you don't have leadership development as a priority or people development as a priority, is it really a priority? If you're not doing it, is it truly a priority? And so you have to ask yourself and ask your leadership, is this something we need to do? And it's not about having a big budget. It's not about having a large HR team, because you have the resources right now to develop an effective leadership development program. You have it in yourself. You have it in yourself. You have it in the leadership that's currently in your company. You have it in the stakeholders that are in your company. And you even have it in some of your customers or clients that can help you develop the people that are going to help you have short-term success that will be sustained into long-term success. So today we're going to talk about a number of things. We're going to talk about some really practical ideas that you could take back tomorrow and start putting into play in your organization if you'd like to. We're also going to look at ways to recognize and motivate people to want to get more development, to want to improve themselves, to maybe want to attain that leadership. And it's not about throwing money against it. It's not about putting more money. It's about putting more priority on it. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how to motivate people. The first thing that needs to happen in an organization is there needs to be trust. Trust is a foundation of all great relationships. Think about the best relationship in your life. Is it a husband, a wife, a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend? That person is the person you can count on, right? Someone you know is going to tell you the truth, give you good, honest feedback. They're going to be there when you need them. You can count on them. You trust they're going to be there. The flip side of that is those not so good relationships, right? Those people I'm sure you don't trust and you don't want to be around. Micromanagement is the opposite of autonomy, because micromanagement doesn't allow the people you hire to do that job, doesn't allow them to do that job, because they can't make a decision without someone looking over their shoulder. And if, God forbid, it's a bad decision or a wrong decision, they're going to get grief for it. So how can I trust that I can make a decision without thinking, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to get grief? Trust doesn't, lack of autonomy, micromanagement, doesn't allow people to make decisions and take advantage of opportunities when they come to them. And it doesn't allow people to handle obstacles as they come to them, because they have to wait. They have to go check with the boss or the supervisor, whoever. So to be autonomous actually is a great way to do business. Because the other part of micromanagement is that the leader who's micromanaging, they're not doing their job either. So it's such a trickle effect. So we hire people to do a job. And I have so many conversations with my clients about saying, let them do their jobs. If they can't, You have to determine, right, if it's will or if it's skill. If it's will, they just don't want to do it. That's one conversation. If it's skill, you hired them because you think they could do the job. Teach them how to do the job and let them do their job. LinkedIn did a study in 2017. And the first thing they found was that 93% of managers feel they need training on how to coach their employees. 9 out of 10, right? More than 9 out of 10. Now, on one hand, you say, oh my gosh, these are managers. But on the other hand, I'm thinking this is great. The first step to solving a problem is admitting you have one, right? So they recognize they have the problem. Let's get them the training, and we'll get them there because we're promoting top performers into management positions. Unfortunately, more than half, actually 47% of managers don't receive any soft skill training. So think about that. Oftentimes we take, oh, here's a top individual contributor, this person's performing, of course we'll put them in charge. They'll bring the whole group up to their level. But we're not helping them to do that. We all know that, right? Individual contributors aren't necessarily the greatest managers because they don't get the soft skills training that is necessary for them to be good leaders. They have the technical skills, obviously, or we wouldn't have promoted them. They have those technical skills. They've demonstrated they can get the job done, but they need training in how to help other people, how to get things done through other people. The next number that I found was particularly interesting was that because of that, over 50% of managers, poof, flame out in the first year. It's just too much. They just can't handle the pressure, they can't handle the additional responsibilities, and they're not helping their team to be successful. And think about the damage that does. First of all, you take a top performer, you put them into a position where they fail. Oftentimes, we don't put them back in that position they were successful, they're out of the company, so you lost the top performer. And then what's the impact to the people in that person's team? How many people didn't reach their potential because that manager wasn't there to support them, didn't know how? How many people left the company because of that manager, right? The number one reason still, I believe, that people leave a company is because of their supervisor. And how much business was affected because of less productivity, maybe less sales, whatever it might be, because of that manager. It's very costly. In fact, some estimates say it costs 150% of the annual salary of that person to replace them. That's recruiting, hiring, training. But that doesn't even include lost business, lost employees, lost potential. So it's a very costly thing, and it's something that we really need to be paying attention to. We need to help make sure that the leaders we put in place are prepared, and that once they're in place, we help them to improve their performance as much as we can. There should be regular one-on-one meetings between a supervisor and that person. This could be weekly, it could be every other week, depending on the size of the organization. I wouldn't go much more than that. And I talk to my clients about this a lot. And they say, Ken, I talk to my people every day. I'm on the phone with them 5 times a day. I talk to them. It's not about this job or that job. In these 30-minute meetings, the conversation should be about how are you doing? How are you getting things done in your department? What's challenging you? How can I help you get your job done? How can I help you get to where you want to get to in your career, whether it's in your current role or in a future role? And you're demonstrating that you care. You're gaining the understanding from the trust model of that person, what their motivations are, and how you can help them achieve. And you're sending a message that they're of value, that you're taking the time to do that. When you want to develop talent, and you build that motivational environment with the autonomy, the relatedness, and the competence needs that we all have, you're going to see all these things improve and increase. Employee retention and engagement is going to go up. People are into it. They want to be part of that organization. You're going to see productivity go up and profitability go up. Getting your people involved to the point where they believe they own what they're doing is the greatest thing. Have you guys, you know when you go in a store and somebody just takes care of you, I always ask, are you the owner? And when they're not the owner, I'm always so impressed by that. When they act like the owner and you don't know, and you think they're the owner but they're not, that's a person who's engaged, giving everything they have to that organization. It makes a difference. So whether you're an individual, again, small budget or large, you can do this. My suggestion to you is to start small. The first place to do it is to start with this trust model, to start building trust with your team, because trust is the foundation that'll help you develop that motivational environment. It'll help you improve productivity. And when you do that, you really will see transformation happen at your company. You'll see excitement, you'll feel it in the air, and you'll see production and productivity like you've never seen before.